What is time? Seriously, what is time? As I am recording this right now, I'm in the past. But to me, it's the present. But what is the present? Because as I'm saying this right now, I'm being flung into the future. You realize this, right? You get this. Like, I'm gonna say a word right now. Peanut butter. Okay, when I was in the process of saying peanut butter, that was my present. But now it's my past. So my point is, but even as I was saying every syllable of peanut butter, when I was saying the butter part, peanut was already in the past. My point is, the past doesn't exist. The present doesn't exist. We're just constantly being flung into the future. Future is the only thing that exists conceptually. It has to, right? It has to! Oh, we're talking about Black Butler today. I like Black Butler. It's a good manga. Hey everybody, Tekking 101 here, and welcome back to another episode of Real Talk, only here on Viewster. So Real Talk, I'll be honest with you guys, just because of its nature, it's a very loose, very informal, just vlog style of video. Whenever I turn the camera on, it's pretty much whatever manga or anime I happen to be thinking about that particular day, that's what we do a video about. Not a lot of editing goes into these kind of things, you know? I mean, except for the intro, which I just messed up about 15 times, so we're on, like, take 16 right now. But beyond that, not a lot of editing. But today, you know, I was in a Barnes & Noble, I was shopping around, I got some stuff I needed, some stuff I enjoy. I got a book on Greek mythology, big myth nut over here. Got a starter kit for the tarot cards, like a tarot card deck, and also like a book on it, because we're doing a video on my YouTube channel about that. But something else, when I was in the manga section, I noticed there was an entire collection of the Black Butler manga by Yana Toboso, but I've never actually bought a single Black Butler. I mean, I'm a fan of the manga, I've just never bought any of the tankobons, so that's what we'll talk about today. This is the most recent volume, because of course when I see like all of the volumes lined up, I of course buy the last one rather than the first one to begin my collection, right? That makes sense. Now, I follow Black Butler on a monthly basis, that's when it's released, and I'm up to date with the story. I think we're up to like chapter 130 or something right now. It's a good story, and it's been around for a long time. This is one of those series that was really popular with, like, teenage girls when I was in high school. You know what I mean? Like, there's a few series of anime that you could pick out. I think Death Note was one of those too. I heard a lot of people talking about back when I was in high school, you know. Most of them were women. I'm a fan of it too. I'm just saying that's the thing that, you know, a lot of teenage girl anime fans seem to gravitate towards. I don't know, maybe it was the sexy, devilish looks of Sebastian that drew them to it. I don't know, but it's a good story. It really is. I got caught up with this manga when I was in a marketing class at college, and it was on Saturday mornings, and it was a 4-hour class. And so instead of paying attention to the class, because it's like Saturday morning, I already don't want to be there to begin with, and I'm stuck there for 4 hours. I was in the back of the class just reading Black Butler manga, you know, because it's a monthly manga, so it's like each chapter is like 30 or 40 pages. I'm just going through that. I was like, well, I'll get caught up on the series this way, and that's what happened. So, you know, the premise, it's so weird with this series, because it doesn't have really over-the-top, you know, anime battle scenes. One of the main characters is a demon, right? So you'd figure, like, Sebastian uses his awesome demon powers to take out the main villain in every arc. No, it's not like that at all. He has supernatural abilities, but it's, like, limited to being in a human body. Or rather, CL, Sebastian's master, you know, Lord Phantomhive, and Sebastian is the dutiful butler. CL kind of sets it up so, you know, he can't just be going around using his demon powers all the time. So whenever Sebastian does end up fighting, it's, you know, using, you know, like, he'll use silverware, but he'll fling it really fast to attack the enemy, or he could just move really quick, and he has, you know, extremely strong, you know, like, just grip strength and everything. That's how he fights. It's not a fighting manga by any stretch of the imagination. It's more of like a period piece, if I was going to pick anything. It's a period piece. It's a mystery. Plenty of times in this manga, plenty of arcs we have that delve into like murder mysteries and that kind of stuff. Even the arc right now is sort of like that. We really don't know where it's going, and I'm not going to have heavy spoilers going on right now. You know, if you're not caught up with this, like, or if you've only read the first few arcs like I did before I started getting caught up, or if you don't know about it at all, it's gonna be a little bit of a journey for you, because the anime is only up to like the 4th major story arc. And the animes had so many different adaptations. There was a season 1 which added a lot of filler stuff into the series that I think was unnecessary. It kind of shifted the tone of the series in a direction that I really didn't enjoy. Season 2 of the anime is 100% filler, completely crafted into a new story. Not a fan of that at all. Once again, was not a fan of the way they took it. They basically took the concept of, here's CL with his demon, and they made another character with his demon that's also a butler, and I just didn't seem like a rehash. I didn't really enjoy it. Season 3 of the anime is where it gets back to the canon of the story, Book of Circus. That's the Noah's Ark Circus arc, and then not even really Season 4. It was 2 OVAs that were released, Book of Murder, which were adapting the Phantomhive murder mystery arc. Now, there was one more that was just released. It's not out in English yet, but it is out in Japanese if you can find it, and that's the 5th arc of the story, the Campiana arc. It's the Atlantic Cruise arc, and that was actually a movie. So it's funny how they keep shortening each, like Book of Circus is like 10 episodes of an anime, full on, there you go, there's your story arc. And then the next arc is only 2 OVAs that are like an hour each, maybe a little bit longer. And then the next one is just a movie. So I don't know what the future looks like for Black Butler. I don't know how the anime is going to get adapted into the further arcs and everything like that. But like I said, it's a period piece. It takes place in Victorian era London in the 1880s. And the author Yana Taboso is obviously Japanese, but seems like they've done their due diligence there and actually done some pretty in-depth research into how, life worked in the Victorian era. Now, they do take some artistic liberties with this. They do change some things around. It actually seems like they're introducing technology into the story that didn't quite exist during that time period, a few decades off from that, but that's like something, it's not exactly taking place in our universe 100%. There's demons and everything running around, and Shinigami and stuff, but it, for the most part, it really does capture that feel. In fact, plenty of chapters of this story just revolve around, they don't revolve around anything supernatural, just life in the Victorian era, and of this noble family taking orders from the queen and how everything's set up. Very descriptive manga in that respect. There was an arc where CL goes to school, like normal school in like high, for like, for like royalty and for like the upper class in London, and it's a cricket tournament, like cricket with the bat and everything, and there's like an entire chapter filled with nothing supernatural, just descriptions on how cricket works and how cricket operated in the Victorian era and how they're playing it and how you score and what's viewed as disrespectful in the, not just against the rules, but what people in the crowd would view as disrespectful to do it. Because there's like etiquette to sporting events and everything like that, and what's the proper etiquette of a cricket match and stuff like that. And gotta be honest with you, it wasn't really my cup of tea, but the fact that I gotta appreciate effort where it's due. I'm reading that chapter, and I'll be honest with you, I skipped most of it because I don't really give a shit about cricket, but I had to kind of express that, yeah, there's some real research going into this. It wasn't just like, CL's going to school, and, add some supernatural elements into it, and boom. No, it's like, we're actually going to do this cricket thing. We're doing it, and here's the research, here's the game. I'm going to treat this like it's an actual serious story, there you go. So it was nice. A lot of the overarching plot threads of Black Butler, like the relationship between CL and Sebastian, is slowly revealed throughout the story. It's like up to like a chapter 130, 140 right now. We get these things like a trail of breadcrumbs, basically, on what happened there, on how CL and Sebastian really met. That was a decent, that was up until the Atlantic arc that we finally found that out. And then we, introduce all these other characters. There's Grim Reapers that are responsible for harvesting souls. We're finding out little about them. So it's more like the focus of the story is CL being the head of the Phantomhive estate and being the queen's basic watchdog, and going on these various undercover missions to, carry out the queen's will in London during this time period, and really immersing ourselves with the characters and that time period. That's the main focus of the manga. And the more supernatural elements to it, like with the Grim Reapers and with the demons, that stuff we find out sparingly. It really does have this interesting mix to it, where at the end of the day, you're talking about a world where demons exist. So it's just kind of like at the end of the day, no matter what happens with the humans and their squabbles or what they're doing, whatever the Queen wants CL to do, whatever, whoever's murdering who this week in London, at the end of the day, you have to understand, like, there's demons and grim reapers and shit, and things are so much bigger than what it is in the human world. But for right now, it's very limited information on all that stuff. Sebastian has like a demon form he goes into. We don't even really know what that looks like in its full appearance yet. And that's another thing, too, about Sebastian. It seems like he himself is kind of immersing himself in this culture and in this world. Or it might just be a ploy to just carry out, because the whole idea is that CL made a contract with Sebastian. Sebastian's going to be kind of his butler, his servant, but it's only until a certain amount of time passes when Sebastian decides that CL's soul is ripened enough or is flavorful enough, and he chows down on some first-grade, high-class soul meat. Whenever that will happen, we do not know, and it might seem like Sebastian is a very caring, emotional guy at times. Not overly emotional, but, there are moments where it's just like, okay, yeah, he genuinely cares for CL, but that might all be an act for all we know. He might just be like playing out a game in his head, and it's like after that timer is like, ding, all right, soul's done. That was fun, whatever we did last 10 years, but om nom now. But that's endgame stuff. That's stuff talking about what's going to happen way far down the line. Like I said, I really don't want to get into spoilers, of the current arc, because it's very heavy. Like, it goes above and beyond. And considering me, the reason I don't want to talk about it, if it was just a simple thing of, like, I don't want to spoil, the new characters that he introduced or the premise, but there's, like, some serious, like, it's one of those arcs that makes you rethink the entire story. Don't you love those? It's like, hundreds of chapters, hundreds of episodes into the series, all of a sudden they give you something that flips the whole table upside down ever since the very beginning. Like, oh my god, really? So I'm just gonna leave that out. Let's talk about the supporting cast. So you got the servants of the Phantomhive Manor, of course Sebastian, but you also have Tanaka, who was the previous butler of the Phantomhive estate, who's kind of just like an elderly advisor now. He's the steward, usually viewed in a very comedic light, but in actuality, he's very very learned and very skilled in his own right. He seems to have like a backstory where he lived in Japan at a certain time. So it's through Tanaka a lot of times we get that Japanese aesthetic that leaks through, because this is written as a Japanese manga. He also uses a katana to fight, so that's pretty cool. Although we don't see Tanaka breaking out the katana all too much, but when he does, when Tanaka breaks out the katana, it's going down. You have Bardo or Baldroy that works as the chef, who is American, and he was a soldier that got brought into the Phantomhive estate. All of the Phantomhive servants, there's not very many of them. They're kind of just like ragtag, people that don't really have any place to go, that CL just welcomes into his home. He doesn't really have a lot of servants compared to all the other like noble houses at the time. You have Mei Rin, who was basically a sniper and assassin. That's the maid. And then you have Finian, or just Finny, who is like this lab rat that was like this human lab rat that was experimented on by this strange group we don't really know much about, who was given like superhuman strength and everything through a series of injections and things. And he managed to Sebastian and CL, he like destroyed the facility he was being held in, and he got freed, and they welcomed him into the home. And that's like the first time he ever really knew what it was to be like a true human being, because he was like a lab rat up to that point. Then you have Snake. Snake was he didn't get introduced until the circus arc, and then he becomes the footman of the house, and so he's also really cool. This guy that has like a snake-like appearance and always carries around snakes with him, and they always talk, through Snake. All the snakes have different names and stuff like that, so he'll be like, "You shouldn't go in there," says Elizabeth, and then Elizabeth is the name of the snake. He's like, he can understand what they're saying. So in terms of like reconnaissance and everything, that stuff's really cool. I love Snake. He's probably my favorite out of all the servants. So yeah, monthly manga, it's gonna take a lot of time to get up to date with it, as I've stated, but if you have the time and the energy and this is something you're really into, I could definitely see it as this is a manga you have to be really into it. This is not something you can go in like half-hearted, like, I'm kind of into it, but not really. You're probably not going to get very far with it if that's the kind of attitude going into it. And that's fine. It's just not for you. It's not for everybody. But, yeah, if you're into it, I would say, if you have to get caught up, I would say brew a cup of coffee, read a few chapters each night, and you'll get caught up eventually. And when you do, I think you'll be happy. Now more than ever with the current arc. I would say this current arc is one of the more vastly interesting ones compared to the other ones in the story. So if you can make it up to this point now, and that's another thing too, it's a monthly manga, so you have time. It's not like every week you're slowly getting more and more behind. You have plenty of time to get caught up. So thanks for watching, everybody. Check out Black Butler if it's something you're into. This will be Tekking 101 signing out. Night, everybody.